Hey, you. Yeah, you. Do you want to get better at TFT? Yeah. Yeah, well, of course you do. That's why you're watching this video. Here are some tips on how to be better at teamfight tactics. Please subscribe. I'm begging. First things first, why should you listen to me? Well, here's why you should listen to me. When I first started playing TFT in set 4.5, I was bronze 2. Wow. And then by the end of set 5, I was diamond 4. As I'm still quite new to the game myself, I feel like I have a very unique perspective compared to a lot of people who've been playing for a long time, as I'm still learning a lot of things and I'm still technically a beginner, but I've managed to climb to a decently high elo in a very short space of time by utilizing these tips. My first tip for new people in Teamfight Tactics is finding 1 or 2 comps, maximum, and learning them in depth. Now you might be going, whoa, Allure, if I force a comp every single game, I'm never going to come first every single game. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point, because the point of forcing a comp isn't to come top 4 every single game. The point of forcing comps is to learn your fundamentals to an extreme degree, as you have a lot less to think about going into the game, because you already have a game plan going in. You know the units you're going to buy, you know the items you want to slam, and it makes learning other aspects of the game, which I'd argue are more important, a lot simpler. For me, currently, the 2 comps that I force most games are A-Bomb with Zyra Vel'Koz or Heimerdinger carry, and then also a Vayne reroll carry comp. Something that I forgot to mention is I recommend having 1 AD comp and 1 AP comp, just so you have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to items, because let's say you're going for an AD comp and you get given only AP items, like you get a lot of rods or whatever, you're kind of screwed. So I just forgot to kind of mention that, it's just a little bit of flexibility, but you'll be fine either way. The best places to look for these comps are places like bunnymuffins.lol with the tier list, Mobifire has some good guides, and YouTube. There's a channel on YouTube called Mask Off TFT, something along those lines. I highly recommend checking out his channel. He has a lot of very in-depth videos about certain compositions and how to run them. And that is where I've learned a lot from, so I will leave a link for that in the description. The main thing to take away from this is basically it takes a lot of the guesswork out of learning other aspects of the game, because you know the units you're going to buy every time. Which brings me on to my second tip. Now my second tip is to obviously subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel has proven to give you infinite LP gains. Just look at this testimonial from some man I found on the street. Before subscribing to the Elio channel, I was Silver 2. But now, I'm Silver 3. And my wife's letting me see the kids again. Thanks, Elio. Christ, it's hard being this good at acting. Fucking hell. Okay, all jokes aside, my second tip is to learn basic ECON strats, when to use them, what benefits they have, and what downfalls they have, and when you should be using them for which kinds of compositions. As you can see, this links back to our previous point, which is it's crazy how the first thing I recommend learning is interest gold and how interest gold works and the importance of interest gold. On screen now I've kind of put together like a kind of cheat sheet. You can pause and screenshot this or whatever and come back to it when you need it. But essentially, once you get to 50 gold, you'll be getting 5 extra gold per round that you wouldn't have been getting if you had less than 50 gold. It's like a compounding interest kind of thing, so 10 gold you get 1 gold, 20 gold you get 2, all the way up to 50, it caps at 50. And this kind of plays into a lot of the strategies which I'm going to cover now. The second concept that you should probably get your head around quite early is the importance of win or loss streaking. When you go on a win streak, up to 5 wins, you start gaining extra gold depending on the amount of wins you're on. So for 1 win in a row, you get 0, but then 2 to 3 wins, you get 1, 4 wins, you get 2, and 5 wins, you get 3 extra gold every round. So in the early game, it's really important to maintain a win or a loss streak. Obviously, it's preferable to have a win streak, because then you'll be maintaining your health, but loss streaking is also a valuable asset to know how to do, because sometimes it's your best option. Now that we've gone over the 2 main ways of making gold in TFT, we need to cover how you should be spending it. The first thing you can do is obviously buy units, you can buy XP, or you can re-roll your shop. When I say econ strategies, I also refer to leveling patterns in the same kind of thing, because they tie in together, and the way you spend your gold depends on the type of composition you're running, mainly surrounding the cost of your main carry. For example, if you're running a 1-cost carry comp, we would usually refer to that as a reroll comp. So for example, when I play my Vayne reroll comp, I get to 50 gold as soon as possible, and then I slow roll to 50 gold every single round to give myself the biggest chance of getting a 3-star. Now the term slow rolling gets thrown around a lot, but I know for a new person it's kind of doesn't make any sense, and it didn't make sense to me for a while. So I'm going to define 2 really commonly used terms when it comes to rolling, and what they mean and when they should be used, how they can be used, and when you should be applying them in your own games. The first term that I'm going to define is slow rolling. Now slow rolling refers to rolling down to 50 gold every single turn, which maximizes your chances of getting a 3 cost. The main times slow rolling is used is in comps that revolve around 1, 2, or 3 crossed carries, because most of those times you won't be aggressively leveling, so you will have a lot extra gold to play with than if you were following a more aggressive leveling strategy if you were going for a 4 or a 5 cost carry. The other term that I've seen thrown around more recently is donkey rolling, which refers to rolling down to 0 gold every single turn. The only times you'd ever really use this is if you really need to hit some 2-stars because you're like on the verge of getting knocked out, or if you're really far ahead and you have got loads of gold to play with. Let's say you're level 9, you've got like 60 gold, you might as well roll it all. Due to the nature of TFT and like all the comps that are in the game, there's no way I'll be able to cover Econ in depth properly in a single clip in a short video. So I will hopefully eventually release a standalone Econ guide. But with that being said, we're going to move on to the next tip because it also does tie into Econ, and that is leveling patterns. Okay, so as I said before, tip 3 is leveling patterns, learning leveling patterns. I'm going to teach 2 quite basic leveling patterns. One that applies to 1 and 2 cost carry comps, and then the other one can be used for 3, 4, or 5 cost carry comps. The second one is the more standard one that I would probably advise you to follow most games if you're unsure, but knowing both of them and when they're applicable is helpful to know. Obviously there's no deviance between each leveling pattern when it comes to levels 1 through 3, because by the time you reach stage 2 you'll naturally be level 3 from the 2 XP you get per round. But after that is where it starts to deviate, and I will now go into depth. So for 1 and 2 cost carries, your main goal early is getting to 50 gold as soon as possible, and because of this you spend very little gold on levels. I will put the entire leveling pattern from levels 1 to 9 on screen now, but basically with 1 to 2 cost carry comps you're aiming to get 3 stars of your carries and like other units that synergize well, and then potentially push to level 8, but very rarely to level 9, because usually by that time you're really far into the game because you didn't spend gold on levels earlier on. Then the second, more standard leveling pattern that applies to 3, 4, and 5 cost carries, it's a little bit more aggressive in its style. As you can see, you'll be pushing levels a lot earlier than you would if you were running the other strategy. However, I recommend this to most people for most games because I think personally having the better shot odds, unless you really specifically need a 3-star 1 cost or 2 cost, gives you a better advantage of surviving later in the game due to the inherent strength of higher cost units. Obviously the main strength that comes with leveling is being able to put more units in, and it can really be the difference between winning and losing some fights. So leveling more aggressively allows you to win fights that would have been a close loss because you have that extra unit on the field. Overall, I think learning the second leveling pattern and kind of memorizing it is pretty strong until about platinum level. Above that, you kind of need to think a little bit further about what other people are doing and what you need to do to maximize your chances of getting the units you need. But for most games, I think the second pattern is the stronger one to do. And by learning it, you'll have a lot of success. Because for me, when I first started playing, I would randomly level, and it was stupid. So follow the leveling pattern, and I promise you, you will win a lot more of your early rounds, which will then help you snowball into late game leads. Now, my fourth tip might sound obvious to some people, but I think learning what every single unit in the game does to a certain extent and how traits work and when you should be using each trait is incredibly valuable, and it's something you can pick up extremely quickly by just playing the game. The other thing that kind of ties into this is how to position each type of unit. So for example, a ranged carry, where to put that in on your board, a tank, where you should be putting them most times, and also assassins are another one, because they're slightly different. There's not really too much to say about this, but it's something you'll pick up as you play. You'll learn, for example, how strong redeemed is throughout the game, and how adding in redeemed later in the game can turn your you know, third place game into a first place game. I have a clip here from my diamond promos this season where I had a Vel'Koz 3 and I didn't have redeemed in, but as soon as I put redeemed in, I perma won the game. Like, I instantly just absolutely won from the benefits of redeemed. The main two that you want to be able to flex in and out trait wise is Ironclad and Mystic, as they give resistances to damage types, but I'm going to cover damage types in my next tip, which honestly I think we're going to get into now, because there's not really much more to say. Just play the game and you'll learn what each unit does, you'll learn what traits do, and by learning comps, as I mentioned at the beginning, you'll know the synergies you need to look for that are strong. So, and then for my fifth and final tip is learning how damage types work, learning each of the 3 damage types and how to counter them. The way I like to think of it is like rock, paper, scissors, but then there's kind of a caveat with true damage, which is like if you're playing rock, paper, scissors, and then, you know, someone pulls out like a nuke, and they're like, oh, I perma win because I got nuke, like that's what true damage is. But identifying the damage types of your opponents and thinking about how you could flex in Ironclad or Mystic into your comp can actually save you so much health and turn around supposedly lost games due to the huge amount of armor / magic resist they give. This also ties into the previous tip, because by learning what each unit does, you'll also learn what type of damage they mainly deal, which can help you with your carousel priority when it comes to getting items and knowing what items to slam if you're not sure / if you're not following a guide that tells you which items to build. And that just about concludes this video. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, it's very appreciated. I stream live on Twitch, link in the description, and I hope you all have a good day. Subscribe or else.